Hey, Trailblazers, this is Jason, your host of the Trailblazing Texas podcast. Before we jump into our latest episode, I've got some incredible news for you. Are you gearing up for your next big hike or backpacking trip? Well, we at Trailblazing Texas podcast have partnered up with Trekker Joe's, the ultimate Texas outfitter, to bring you something I feel absolutely special. Listeners, you of the Trailblazing Texas podcast can now get a one-time 15% off their gear purchases at Trekker Joe's. That's right, whether you're a first-time customer at Trekker Joe's or a repeat customer like me, you can save big and hit the trails well prepared. So upon checkout, use code TTP15 to claim your 15% discount and in the process support an amazing local Texas business. So happy trails, and don't forget to tell your hiking buddies. Now on with the episode. Welcome to the Trailblazing Texas podcast, where we embark on a journey through our diverse Texas landscapes and breathtaking trails while always engaging with our amazing Texas hiking community. So settle in, tighten up those bootlaces, and get ready for the thrilling tales awaiting for you on this episode.
They're all little tricks. How do we learn them? Sometimes talking to other people, but most of the time, I don't drink coffee. On my Camino, I started drinking coffee because it was fun. It was like coffee con leche. Oh my gosh. I had to go to the restroom like all the time. And I'm like, what is wrong with me? I thought maybe I ate something wrong. And someone's like, well, you've been drinking coffee. I'm like, it makes you go to the restroom? I'm like, yeah, everybody knows that.
Yep.
You don't know if you don't do it, right? So why would I drink coffee on a hike if that's the last thing I want to do is have to go to the restroom in the woods all the time?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's something that I always try to harp on is whatever you want to do, do it,
Yep.
but understand how it impacts your body.
Yes.
And then also be open to making adjustments,
Yes.
you know? And yeah, if like I'm diabetic, so I have to pee a lot when I'm hiking, especially like if I don't eat right, because that's how through this medication the
Yes.
my body gets rid of the sugars. So I know that, if I don't get that dialed in, then it's going to be a a pee fest on the trail.
That's actually what made me understand it. My sister's diabetic as well. And I
Mhm.
started thinking about this and I started watching people and asking questions on the trail. And it was sure enough, and myself, their sugar consumption, you know, and it's what I don't even know what the right word, you probably have a better word, but I call it the processed sugar. In other words, I actually carry honey on my hikes. Those
Mhm.
little orange packets, that's what I had on
Yep.
the AT. I would shoot 1 honey a day. That's sugar. But my body liked it better than I did have 1 Snickers bar on the trail. Someone gave it to me. I have a rule. I'll eat stuff sometimes, but it has to be given to me. I won't buy it. I won't buy a Snickers bar, but if someone gives me one, I
Yeah,
might,
you can't be rude.
right? So it was funny. I ate it and it was so good. I mean, I know how it tasted. It was so good. 30 minutes later, I wanted another one. And I was like,
Yep.
that's weird because throughout my whole hike, I had not craved anything. I didn't have one. There was none around. So I walked off that craving. But if I was at home, I'd have eaten 10 more. Like, and I'm not
Absolutely.
exaggerating. So
Yeah.
our bodies are, I'm sure you've heard this example, but I think this is a great way to explain, and I'm not going to do it perfectly, but it has to do with camping. You have a fire, right? A campfire. And to me, if I'm building a fire, I can build a fire with leaves. That would be my sugar. But what happens? You got to keep adding leaves. Like it's going to be a
Mhm.
fast burn, And then I don't remember which one comes first, but we'll say the kindling. The kindling is a little bit easier to light. It's a little bit easier to get energy out of it. And I'm going to call it for today because I can't remember. I'm going to call it the protein. So the protein gives you that good burn, but it doesn't last as long as the log. And the log is the fat, the good fat, the fat that
Yeah.
carries you through the night. You can burn that fire all night long with the bacon. The bacon has my fat, you know,
Yeah.
and it gave me a source of energy. So again, I'm not saying you can't use leaves, but just understand what that leaf does. Just understand what that sugar does. That I can eat, and this is what people do. Like they can't believe that my pack weighs so little with food, but that's because I don't put the sugars in there that I have to eat all the time to keep my energy. I'd rather eat that beef stick, you know? So I kind of was testing myself on the Allegheny Trail. Could I, I talk a big talk about, I can handle this. Could I do it?
Yeah.
And someone says, I can't believe you carried 14 days worth of food. And I laugh and I'm like, okay, time out. I went 14 days on probably about 10 days worth of food. So
Right.
I could have eaten all of that food in probably 8 days, but I had 14. So I paced it out and I wanted to see could I do it? And I could. Would I ever recommend it? No. But I wanted to see could I maintain that? And I did. And it wasn't a flat hike. It was, a lot of up and down. And the point is, I liked what you said a minute ago, and that was, you know, be willing to adjust. It might work. We're not even talking for the same person in a different part of their life. Like women, they have different needs when they're 25 versus
Absolutely.
after 50. Same person, but your needs are different. And then, of course,
Hmm.
hikes. A hilly hike, a mountainous hike is very different than a flat hike going through rivers. So you've got to be okay. This is definitely one of my sayings, and it's a friend taught it to me. But remain fluid because flexible is too rigid. We all want to be flexible, and my friend basically believes there's a level up. Be fluid, okay? Because it's okay to be flexible, but man, that's that flow. Be fluid. And so, anyway, I remember that sometimes when I get stuck in my ways, when I think,
Right.
oh, I have to do it this way. Um, Sometimes, it's worked for me for a long time. It doesn't serve me right now. And you have to be willing to let go of that. Even if you're preaching it, you're the best way to do blah, blah, blah is this way. And then you try it and one day it doesn't work for you anymore. You're like, you know, maybe I should adapt, change,
Yeah.
evolve. So,
Yeah, absolutely. So, looking back at everything you've done over the last 4 years,
mhm.
is there anything that you're most proud of? What I get from you, it's not so much about the accomplishments, but about the journey.
Oh, absolutely.
But is there anything that I think we all would know, that's kind of how I feel as well. But there are some things that I've done that I look back and I just like, wow, I can't believe that I've done that. And so do you have anything that you could look back and go, I do look back and go, God, I can't believe I was able to do that.
Okay, so I'm going to frame it a different way. Is there a
Hmm.
hike you would never ever do again, but you're glad you did it once?
I have two of those.
Holy cow. I got myself into one because I don't do my research. And I was like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. It was Half Dome.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so it was amazing. I'm glad I did it, but I was questioning all my life's decisions while I was doing it because it was scary, hard, and that was one of those things where you see videos of it, and I don't think people can accurately describe how dangerous it is. Period. It is. Have you done it?
No, no, but you're absolutely right. Like
It
pictures
it's one
don't.
of those like, people post things all the time, and this gets me in trouble. People post things all the time on Angel's Rest, Angel's Landing. So,
Yeah.
Angel's Landing, they talk about and they try to make it look scary. It's not scary.
Hmm.
It's it's a good hike. There is nothing wrong with that hike. So, I've put it in the same I've done it more than once. So, I put it in the same category as Half Dome. People are making it bigger than it is.
Oh man.
Okay, so I'm doing the John Muir Trail. I hike up from the bottom of the floor, and for my permit, you can camp two
Mhm.
miles ish, maybe four. I can't remember. 2 hours. I don't remember. But you can hike and camp right below Half Dome. Okay. again, with my lack of research, I did know that people would start like at 4 in the morning so they could be up there, do the hike, and come back down and be done. What and I needed to get going because I'm doing the John Muir Trail. So I wanted to go up and see it. And I'm a morning person. So I wake up early. I leave my tent set up because I don't want to carry my backpack. So I left everything at the campground. I hike up in the dark. I'm at the base. The sun's kind of there's quite a daylight-ish dawn, and there's no one around. Like there's no one around. I am by myself, which I love. I'm all about it. I have my gloves. I don't even because I can see it. I don't even take water up with me because I don't want anything with me other than me.
Right.
So, and there's no one around. I had passed a mom and son, but that was it. And I had passed them pretty early on, so they were somewhere, still hiking in the dark. I go to the top. I have the whole thing to myself. Like it's mine. No one is around, and I'm happy because part of my fear was other people. I can't control them dropping things on me and whatever. So I'm like, but it was hard. It was physically demanding, and I'm like, holy cow. I don't like going downhill. Uphill, no problem. Downhill is my concern. So I'm like, okay, this has been fun. I spent a lot of time up there. I can see the mother and the son approaching. I'm still at the top. And so I start coming down because I don't want to pass them. I don't want them anywhere near me.
Right.
So I make it down almost to the very bottom. They had started, so we had to cross each other a little bit. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I didn't do this. But there were moments on that incline and decline where if you made one wrong move, one mistake, it's over. Like there's no second chance. On Angel's Landing, for the most part, there's only a few places if you fell you would die, and they were very short. The whole thing, one mistake, so I had 20, 30 minutes of being on the whole time, no mistake. And I don't live that way. I make mistakes all the time. So I was very concerned, and it was physically, I'm tiny. And so I'm not that tiny, but my leg, some things would take 2 steps, and there was slick granite where somebody taller with longer legs could just step to the next thing. So I swore I would never do it again, no matter what someone entices me with. That is the most scary, epic. But when I was done, I was obviously proud of myself, and caught a photo of me at the top. So I was happy about that too.
And that's we had my friend Kip on the podcast. He's out of Amarillo,
Yeah,
and he
that's
did
where I
it. And he said, yeah, he said that there, and he's a tall guy. He
am.
goes, there was a lot of places that it's just worn, and he would
It is.
step and his foot would slip, and
Yeah,
and people die on that trail. So
they do. They have just recently.
yeah,
So if I were to do it again, I'm going to preface this. I would do it again, but I would be in a harness. Period. Bar
yeah.
none. So where did I not mess up, but I didn't realize that when people start at 4:30 in the morning, they started at the bottom. So they did that
Oh,
whole they didn't start from the campground. That's why nobody was there. But it was unbelievable. It was beautiful. I'm proud of myself for doing it, but it was definitely more physically demanding than I was expecting. And I did it. I kept my head on, but I don't like being in a situation where there's no room for error. And I put myself in a situation where I was at the mercy of a lot of stuff going right.
yeah.
So yeah, blah.
Mhm. So this is my probably one of my most favorite questions to ask,
Uh-oh.
and it's interesting to get people's thoughts on this. I don't know if you have any common misconceptions about hiking and backpacking that you always like to or have to debunk.
Okay. Yes. So one is what people should eat.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think we already talked about that. So just recap, you know, there are so many products out there and gimmicks, and people are convinced that they need to buy whatever electrolytes. And as you mentioned, we all are different. Like some people are diabetic. I'm
Yeah.
what they call mildly hypoglycemic. So we all have different uh, needs. You could be vegetarian, whatever. It doesn't matter. The point is, we all have our own thing, but the key is get away from the gimmicks, get away from, all these things they have out there, and try not to buy into the commercialization of hiking. So that, I think that's where I'll flow into the next one is, yes, it's nice to have good equipment, but don't let that stop you from hiking. Like when I go
Yeah.
on a hike, you would laugh if you knew what I pull from is what's in my van. So no, I don't have a titanium spoon. I have a spoon that I got for free at some fast food place, you know? Like, so the point is, you don't have to have. Now, if I have a titanium spoon and I want to use it, great. But you don't have to have a silk liner. You can have a bed sheet. You don't
Right.
have to have a pillow. You can make a bag into with all your clothes into a pillow. Um, I think when you do buy something, you've decided you want to hike, then I suggest you buy the best. If you're going to buy something, don't go out and buy a $30 sleeping bag. If you're going to buy something, you're going to invest in your future of hiking. Again, the first time you go hiking, you don't have a sleeping bag. If you're going to buy something and you don't have the money, seriously, take what you can find. That's just my opinion. Okay, that's probably
Yeah.
the frugal Kim more than anything else. But people don't invest in something that you're then going to have to replace a year later. I just don't understand that.
So I didn't listen to you. So look at all this.
What am I looking at? Those are all your
All
things.
all
That
my hiking and backpacking gear. So
wow.
so I did it differently. I bought things and then did research and then like, oh, this is something better. And yeah, you're absolutely right. Like if you're gonna do it, get the gear that's gonna make it enjoyable and you successful.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. Um, okay. So other misconceptions. I'm going to start off with this one's a really simple one. It doesn't have to be a through hike. You don't have to hike for months. You don't have to hike for days. Go out there and hike 1 mile. I don't care. Like there are
Hmm.
so many trails where you can go out and back, and I would suggest an out and back at first or a loop, but then when you get a little more into it, then yeah, spend a night in the
Yeah.
tent with someone else. Make sure you're comfortable, safe. Learn. It's really weird the first time you sleep in a tent by yourself. And it's funny because sleeping out in the woods where no one's around has a different weirdness to it than sleeping by a trailhead. They both have their pros and cons.
Yeah.
But the point is, so the misconception is it has to be something dramatic to be a hike. No, it does not. Now, yeah, I'll just leave it at that. I'm going to talk about animals because we get this question all the time. Aren't you afraid of bears? Aren't you afraid of snakes? Aren't you afraid of pigs?
As
Whatever.
soon as you step on the trail, they're gonna eat you.
That is the biggest misconception. People don't realize. Okay, so you have a few different levels of animals, but let's just talk. You're on a trail where people don't go much. Those animals could, they want nothing to do with you. They're not curious. They want their survival. And if you happen to be in hunting territory, then the animals are definitely not going to be near you. If they hear you, they're gone if you're in hunting territory. I'm more concerned about the hunter than the one being hunted. Okay.
Absolutely.
And we're talking any animal because guess what? The only animal that's kind of dangerous, I think, is a mama whatever. Mama bear, mama this, mama that, because they're the ones who are going to protect. People go, oh, no,
Hmm.
no. What about a mountain lion? Okay. Do you know what you need to do if there's an animal sighting and there's an animal encounter? Do you behave the same with a mountain lion versus a snake versus a bear versus even a domesticated dog? Recently, I've been having run-ins with dogs. That's been my
Yeah.
concern, and I'm a dog lover. Like I don't have problem with dogs. And I'm telling you right now that this last year, 2024, I've had more run-ins with aggressive dogs. And I found out recently that an aggressive pet is very different than an aggressive sheepdog in what's Switzerland. That's not a
Yeah.
hypothetical. Okay. I found out I can tell a domesticated mean dog no, and there's a good chance that domesticated mean dog will obey you. It's a true thing. You can say no with
Hmm.
authority. Evidently, a sheepdog takes that as aggression. So don't do that.
Yeah.
I learned that the hard way. But here's the deal. Two things. One is the animals are not going to come go, oh, there's a hiker. I want to go eat him. We're not what they want. Okay. We're not, we might be a threat and they might want to stop us. But unfortunately, if you get into areas hiking like the John Muir Trail, Shenandoah Valley, places where there are hikers, the Appalachian Trail, but the hikers are out there. And unfortunately, not necessarily through hikers, I'm going to pick on the poor day hikers. They go out there and they don't necessarily behave in a way that they should, and they cause either there's food in their car and the bear figures it out that that's a big fast food restaurant and that they can rip the door open, or someone gets afraid and they throw their backpack at a bear. Worst thing you can do, yeah, you might get away fine, but you just taught that bear that they can get food or whatever they want. People who leave food in their tent and they set up their tent with their little grimy hands. I don't even camp. I do not set up my tent where I eat my food. That's just me. But I go to a lot, and I don't sleep near shelters because
Right.
shelters are messy. People have left things. They leave food there. They drop food. These are all my own rules that I've set for myself. I'm not telling people to do that. But I don't have a problem with animals ever because I follow certain little things that have worked for me. Hang your
Yeah.
food, like on the AT, I hung my food up. Um, I had this whole routine of how to be safe, but I found out something just recently that I think is fascinating. You hear about these animal attacks. If you ever talk to someone who's been attacked by an animal or you see a news report, I would love for you to investigate one step further. Not all the time, but we'll just do the 80-20 rule. 80% of the time, they had a dog with them. Now, it's funny because some people hike with a dog because they feel like they're safer.
Right.
A dog to a javelina, I'm going to pick on the javelina. You can take a javelina, they could care less about people. You throw a dog with you, and you have now triggered that javelina into protective mode. They associate a dog with a coyote. We'll just leave it at coyote for now. So they behave differently and they will go attack mode. That javelina changes its behavior to defending its family. So why am I mentioning that? When you hear about animals attacking, you need to ask those open questions like, well, what happened? Was it an animal that was desensitized by humans? Probably.
Right.
Was there a mama and a baby and the person accidentally got in between them? Did you step on the snake, or did you throw a rock at the snake, or did you, what did you do? What did that
Right.
person do? Was the animal injured? I mean, I'm not making excuses for the animal, but what happened? What really happened for that animal attack? And you're going to find out that first off, they get advertised more than you don't hear about the 10 bears that I saw within 2 days on the Appalachian Trail who had no concern for me whatsoever.
Yep.
That's my point. I guess to be concise, respect the animals, and I believe for the most part they will respect you. Know when you should be loud, know when you should be calm and quiet, know when you should back away, know when you should stand your ground. Know what you can do if something happens and it goes south. What can your backpack help you? Can know what to do in the circumstances? And people go, well, how do I know? Almost every trailhead will tell you, hey, this is mountain lion territory. Here's what you do if there's a mountain lion. Hey, this is bear territory. This is what you should do. You have no excuse unless you just drop
Right.
out of a helicopter. There is a trailhead that's going to tell you what is your threat and what should you do in that circumstance. So I don't
There's
do a
a
lot of research beforehand. I read every trailhead sign. I never mentioned that. I read every trailhead sign. Everyone.
In almost every trailhead that I've seen, you have phone numbers that are important to
Yes.
you on your
Yes.
hike. You have what
Yes.
blazers mean, if there's any
Yes.
alternative loops and stuff, like there's a ton of information that
Yes.
and even if you don't read it, just take a picture of it.
I always take a picture.
Yeah.
Always take a picture.
So you mentioned long-handled spoons. Have you ever seen the trail brush?
I just saw that for the first day, like 3 or 4 days ago. Okay, I think I'm really mad that I didn't think of that. That's
So
genius.
Andrew came on the podcast. He's the inventor, and so he,
No.
he hiked the Appalachian Trail, and he was on a airplane, and he was explaining to the guy through hiking, and um, yes, that you're counting grams, and people are cutting off the ends of toothbrushes, and the guy was like, "That's weird," and then he said at that moment it just hit him like, "Wait a minute." Like, he could figure this out.
I hope he
So
gets stinking rich.
he told the guy, he goes, "Hold on 1 second. We'll keep our conversation, but I gotta," and he's an architect by, studies. So he drew it out, and now we have the trail brush. And what's cool is there's only 3 vendors that make these spoons. I don't care what brand it is.
Right.
And so the little holes are all the same.
No, that's the
So,
best thing I've ever, because I don't actually carry one of those spoons because I
yeah.
really couldn't justify using it. But by this one little thing, I am now probably going to get one of those.
Yeah, yeah, so and he's a wonderful guy, young kid,
That's
and,
exciting.
yeah, so, yeah, it's a great little fun thing, but, yeah, he
Right.
was on the podcast. I think my biggest misconception, and
Yeah.
I just cringe whenever I read it, is someone goes, "I wanna start hiking and backpacking. I just got my brand new hiking boots," and I'm just like, "Ah, no!" Like, and I'm only talking about this like as it relates to Texas. Like, there is very few places where a hiking boot makes sense.
Yep.
Maybe if you're in the back country of Big Bend or Guadalupe or off trail, yeah, maybe that's something that you would want to look into. But most times just get a comfortable trail runner or something that you're gonna enjoy walking in, or they're like, "Yeah, I just bought them, and I'm fixing to go on a through hike, the Leinster Hiking Trail." I'm like, "Oh my god, you're gonna be miserable."
Yep. So, yeah, hiking boots, really good for scree, like maybe doing a 14er where there is a path, but then you have to do a lot of rugged.
Yeah.
It could really be of help if you have like slight snow and you're, not deep snow, but not, yeah, okay, fine. A Vosk, an old Vosk boot would be just phenomenal. Beyond that, I converted to trail runners in 2020. I have a bunion and on one foot, and having trail runners was one of the best things. But did I start the AT with my hiking boots? Absolutely. Why? Because I owned them already. So
Yeah.
and I'll be honest, I love them. For the first, I started in February and my feet don't sweat.
Oh my gosh, February?
February 26th, before COVID, okay? I'm glad I did because they stopped handing out
February.
permits in March. So, I
Yeah.
was one of the few, just so you know, there's a saying, because they didn't recognize the 2020 and the 2021 hikers. And so there's a saying that no one hiked the Appalachian Trail in 2020, and I'm one of them. So I'm one of the people that did not hike.
Yeah.
Um, but I wore my boots. And it's funny because there's this one point where I remember everybody was like trying to stay dry, and I had my boots on and they were waterproof, and I was able to just go straight down the trail, like in the snow, in the water, in the muck. I loved it because they were like hopping and trying to stay. And so I love my boots. But as soon as I got to a point where I could get my trail runners, I got rid of my boots, I mailed them back home, and then I had my trail runners, and the difference was unbelievable. But again, I stepped on the trail, I looked at what everybody else was doing, and I saw that most people had trail runners.
Yeah.
So I adapted, even though I liked my boots. Holy cow. When I changed to trail runners, and that's where you got to suck your pride up sometimes and go, you know what? I think I know what I'm doing. I like my boots because they were broken in, but I like my trail runners better.
I have shelves of me sucking up my pride with buying
Yep,
stuff and then going, "Oh, wait, that wasn't the right decision."
right. Yeah. So it's funny, I still have the same boots that I've had for a long time because they last forever, right?
Mhm.
My trail runners, like just this year, I have probably gone through at least 5 pairs of shoes. At least, probably more.
Yeah.
I usually start off with shoes that have already been used, and then I get new ones and new ones and new ones. Now, my feet, people go, your feet must be trashed. They must be cracked. They must be, callous. They must be blistered, blah, blah, blah. No, my feet, I'm not going to show you, but my feet are normal. Like someone looked at my feet the other day. They're like, I want to see your feet. And I'm like, what? And they're like, you have to have the most beat up feet I've ever seen. And they were shocked. My feet are normal, but I
Mhm.
wear trail runners and I wear really thick wool socks.
Yep.
Even in the summertime, I wear my wool socks, period. And I love them.
Right.
Even in the summertime, I don't care. If I get that little heat rash thing, don't care. I
Yep.
like my feet protected.
So are you a water bladder or smart water bottle?
Okay, I am 3 different things. You ready?
Yep.
So I'm definitely on my through hikes, like this last one I just did. I'm a smart water bottle or what I call my squishy. It's a little soft one, Katahdin,
Yeah. Yeah. I know.
whatever that one is, where you did.
Yeah.
Okay, I love it, but I keep breaking them. But I love that too because I can keep my pack on, scoop. If there's a lot of springs, I love it. Okay, so that's my water filter life. Okay, so that's a hike where I'm going to be out there for a while, and I can't just get water wherever I can't get a jug of water or whatever. Okay, when I hike in Vegas, and I do hikes where I have to scramble, and I'm not filtering my water. These are day hikes, basically day hikes, and I can carry all the water I need for that day. Or I want to add weight to my pack. I use water as a and why would you do that? I'm doing a day hike and I just want to get more out of it. I'm hiking with other people and I want more of my hike. Then yes, I will put water in a bladder and I'll do my little sippy thing and, fine. Most hikes that I do by myself that's a day hike, I don't do a bladder and I don't do my filter. It like especially in Vegas, they have a lot of springs. I
Mhm.
You're going to love this. I don't have it.
Life straw?
No, I take a little baggie, a little Ziploc bag, and I put it in the water and I drink it. And I put it in the
Oh,
water
cool.
and I drink it. But it's
That's ultralight.
it's very ultralight. Now, let's say I'm on a hike where there's not good water and I want to carry my water. Then I will take it's so funny. Someone gave this to me as a gift, and I was the most ungracious receiver of a gift. It was from like a national park or something. It's a sling where you put a water bottle in it. It's this green bag satchel thing, and all it can hold is like a water bottle and maybe your keys, or I can
Mhm.
put my phone in it, but that's all it is. I will literally go on and I'm not exaggerating, a 10-mile hike, day hike. That's 5 hours. And I will take one bottle of water. I start hydrated, and that is more than enough. I always
Yeah.
have water for me in my car. So I will go on this hike. Now, here's the deal people go, well, what if you run out of water? Well, typically I'm on a hike where there is water. Well, what if you don't have your filter? Okay, well, let's talk about this. It's a day hike. Let's say I need water, and I mean, I'm in danger zone. I drink the water. Well, what if it's bad for you? I'll figure it out when I get back.
On the way home, I'll stop at a gas station.
Yeah, I always have water in my car. My car always I when I'm my car has everything I need for after my hike. Change of clothes, water, food, even first aid kits. My
Mhm.
car is my home, my van. It has everything I need. So when I go on a hike, yeah, let's say I cut myself. I'll stop the bleeding, but my van will put me back together. Let's say
Right.
I fall in a stream. I can change my clothes when I get back. Everything is temporary to me on a day hike, but I do want to have water. I don't always carry food with me. People go, you can't do that. Do you know I did a hike one time? I was doing this fast, and this sounds weird, but I forgot I was fasting. I had been fasting for 3 days, and I got this thing in Vegas where I wanted, and this is when I had corrected my eating and I was eating really clean. And I don't know, I was just near Red Rock, and I'm like, oh, I want to go on a hike. Halfway into my hike, I realized I hadn't eaten for 3 days, and I was kind of
Oh,
feeling a little weird.
yeah.
And for a moment, I had a panic attack. I was like, what have you done, Kim? You should not be out here not having eaten. And I'm like, get out of your head. You were fine before, you're fine now. But I did turn around because my body, I felt something change. I turned around and I went back to my car, and I was shaking, and I went to like a Whole Foods, and I like bought food right there and ate it right there. And I was like, okay, was that in my head, or was that, what was that? What was that reaction? But regardless of if it was in my head or my phys, hit a wall, and I was like, and I ended my fast. And I was like, you're an idiot for not even remembering you were on a fast. But the real story is, I ended up doing like 8 miles that day, not having eaten for 3 days. Why am I mentioning this? Because we don't really need to eat as much as we think we do. People,
Yeah.
they carb up for a 10-mile hike. Then they bring their little snacks, and they eat every hour because they are going to lose their energy. And then they get to the summit, and then they sit there and they have this full meal. And then they're back to their car, and it's like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and they were only hiking for like maybe 4 or 5 hours. And they ate enough food that day for 2 days.
Yep.
We need to get away from, my opinion, 2 reasons we need to get away from it. Your body needs to learn how to pull from its natural energy reserves. Okay. Don't keep giving it leaves, give it some logs so it can sustain itself. And the same with the water. People go, Kim, you shouldn't drink that spring water because what if it has something in it? And I actually tell them, because I tell these people, I have one friend who's on the same page as me, but everybody else is like, Kim, you're going to die. And I'm like, you know what? If I keep drinking this water, let's pretend like it does have some concentration of something I'm not supposed to have. If I drink it, my body can handle it now. One day, I might be somewhere where my filter breaks. I might be somewhere where I lose my filter. If I drink that water, I might get sick, but maybe I won't get as sick
Right.
because my body knows how to handle it. Now, that might be just making excuses, but that is what I live by. That is, I want my body to be. I don't use like the antibacterial soap, whatever, the alcohol stuff that people put on their hands,
Mhm.
whatever that is. I embrace germs. I want germs. I want my body, while it's strong, to fight whatever it's exposed to. Because every day I go somewhere, someone has a cold, someone has the flu, someone has COVID, someone has something.
Yep.
I have, and this has been all my life. I want to allow my body to be exposed to. I was raised where chickenpox. We had chickenpox parties. I was the youngest in the family. My sister got chickenpox. Guess what? My mom invited people over, myself included, to be exposed to chickenpox to get it over with. And yes, I got
Yep.
chickenpox, but I got it at the age of, I'm going to make up an age, 4, where a friend of mine in high school was protected from it. He didn't get it until he was a senior in high school.
Oh,
He's already trying to shave. I'll never forget him because he was so seriously sick. I'll take my 4-year-old self over a senior in high school. Okay. It was
absolutely.
miserable for him. So my point is, his body still fought it. But if you're going to be exposed to something, let's do it when your body's strong. Okay. At some point in your life, your immune system is going to be weakened. Okay, fine. But if you're still healthy and strong, I would say embrace the dirt, embrace the water, embrace, yeah, I drop food on the ground. Yes, I pick it up and I eat it. When I'm on a hike, you got one of two choices. You drop food on the ground, you either carry it out for however long you've got that food, or you eat it.
What
I'd
you
rather,
would hope.
yeah, I would rather
y-
consume I'd rather consume that calorie than, to carry it out for 3, 4 days. Plus, I don't
Yep.
want just open food that could attract an animal. I'd rather, again, it be inside me. And no,
Yeah,
the third option is not throwing it in the woods.
that's, man, I see that so much, especially in the Guadalupe Mountains. Like people are throwing orange pills and all this stuff, and
Can we
I
talk
just want
about
to
that?
scream.
Let's
Absolutely.
Okay. Do you want to go first?
Go ahead.
Okay. I struggle with this because I believe leave no trace means leave no trace. Okay? I also believe take it a step further. You want to leave things better than when you find them. Okay. So let's talk about, because people are very passionate about this. It's an orange. It's organic. A banana peel, organic. Apple core, organic. Even eggshells. Okay, where do people stand on this? Most people will go, hey, it's okay. You just throw it out there. The animals are going to like it, blah, 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 blah. And I always tell them, if I find an apple tree and I eat an apple, I have no problem leaving that. I'm being serious. I have no problem leaving that apple core in that area. But if I find a banana from a grocery store and I'm walking in the desert and there are no other banana trees, and I'm even going to be more obnoxious, it has a Dole sticker on it.
Yep.
You cannot tell me it's organic and you can leave it there. Two things. One is you didn't take the sticker off. Okay,
Yep.
so that bugs the tar out of me. So don't tell me you care about that. But second, the banana peel will break down and even feed the little buggies under the banana tree in American Samoa. So if I see a banana, I don't have a problem eating a banana and throwing the peel under banana tree. I think that's part of the cycle.
Right.
But that petrified banana peel from only a month ago, but it is petrified hard as a rock. Guess what? That sucker's not breaking down. You have
It's
just,
gonna be the
it's going to be there forever with that little steak, so it's black, it's ugly. Now, I'm really passionate about this. You're going to throw it down? Really? You're going to throw it down on the trail? Like, don't tell me it's organic and you can't even, I'm not telling people to throw it off the trail, but don't, like, there's little orange peels and eggshells. And I'm like, you guys are just being lazy and then you're justifying it. Now, that's my set of rules. That's my, what I believe. Okay. I don't want to pick up after people, but it bugs the tar out of me. The trash that I pick up on a trail is micro trash. That's one of my things. I have a pocket in my pants that's made for micro trash, and I'll pick up all those little corners and all those little things. That's my thing. I don't typically pick up an orange peel. I don't typically pick up hard-boiled eggs shell or whatever. So I'm just asking people, I'll keep picking up your micro trash, but can you just stop throwing this other stuff down? That's
Yep.
that's my say on that part of leave no trace. We can talk about Karen's next, and not the person Karen, but Karen's. But where do you my justification is, if it's naturally there, I'm walking on a Camino and I eat a fig and I don't eat the peel. I have no problem leaving the peel. I'm being serious. I'm doing what the animals do. But the monkey did not fly across the ocean with a banana to hike the Arizona Trail to then eat and leave the banana that they brought from another country on the trail that has
Yep.
no value to that trail whatsoever.
1000%. It's I usually carry a trash bag with me, and especially the Lone Star Hiking Trail. Not so much on the trail, but closer to the trailheads, because I believe
Yes.
people go there, not hikers and backpackers. They're just there to drink beer or whatever.
Yeah, I saw some
I
things I didn't want to see on the trail that were.
Yeah, you told me about one of my caches that it was close to
It was under the jug.
yeah, I can't even believe that. I was
And
like,
I didn't know you,
"What?"
so I thought it was yours.
No.
Like, is this something? Because remember, you didn't know I was coming, right? So this was a
Right.
cache you did ahead of time. So to
Yeah.
me, it was like I didn't know you, right? And I'm like,
Mhm.
huh. But no, I saw needles and
Trailhead 13 was that location, and I was shocked. I didn't even see it. I just reached around the tree, set it down, like, yeah, okay, it looks kind of out of sight, and
well, I can't imagine, but someone could have left it. They saw your water and they didn't need the water, but they put it there because they knew they would be able to find it, is what I was thinking. I think someone put it after you drop the water. I don't, that's my opinion.
yeah.
I just saw the picture of it because I can't post that. So I have a picture of what was underneath it. Did I not send you a picture?
No, you
Oh, I
just
might
told me
send
like, "Hey,
you.
did you leave something by the cache?" I'm like, "No."
I'm like,
and
how do
then
I
you
say this with,
and then you
should I
told me,
leave
I'm
it?
like,
Should I take
"What?"
it? Did I leave? What should I do? And again, that leave no
Uh,
trace thing. Okay, so I grew up on a farm, and we had a simple. Our farm, it was about 40 acres, but you had to go through other people's property on a shared road to get to your property in Texas. And we had a simple rule. My dad, it was a very simple rule. If you see a gate and it's open, you leave it open. If you see a gate that's closed, you close it. It doesn't matter if you believe all gates should be closed or you believe all gates should be open. That's not the point. You leave it like you find it. Why
yep.
do I mention this? Because when you do a hike, and I'm going to pick on Leave No Trace and Karens, there's a big movement where people go around and they kick down Karens because they can't stand them because that's going to kill some bug or something. I don't know. But that Karens are dangerous and that people should not build Karens. Here's my approach on Karens. They have a purpose. The person who built that Karen, and I'm not talking about rock stacking and pretty stuff. I'm talking about you're on a trail in the desert or have a supai or whatever, and you're walking and you see a Karen. You don't know who set it up. You don't know why they set it up. So me, it's the gate. I'm not knocking over that Karen. I'm not trying to prove a point. I'm not, to me, leave no traces. I'm going to leave that alone. But you go, well, that's not good because that shouldn't be there. What if somebody put that there because they missed a turn, right? And they want to come back to that Karen. They have a reason for it. Or as I found out on this one hike I was on, they put Karens. It took me a while to figure this out. You had to cross the river a whole bunch of times. They always put a Karen on the safest passage across the river. So
All right.
it was an identifier as to where you should cross. Why am I mentioning this? The gate thing. Because if you could just take the approach that Karen's not going to kill anyone. It's not killing any habitats. It's especially when it's by a riverbed and it floods every other year. And so move down the river. Just assume it has a purpose and it's not going to impact your life or a bear or whatever people think that those Karens are going to do. Okay, you raised your hand, so tell me what you got.
Yeah. So we do that a lot in the Guadalupe backcountry. And if you think, not you, but if anybody thinks there's no reason for that, get on episode 11 and 12 with Mr. Barry, who was lost at Guadalupe Mountains for 5 days, 4 days with no water, 5 days with no food, literally fixing to die before he was rescued. We set up Karens all the time, and we get into areas where it's not traveled a lot,
Right.
and we don't have a trail. We have a phone trail, so okay, theoretically we're on the trail or close to it, and we're heading in this direction, but we set up a Karen just so we always have line of sight of where we're coming back or where we came from in
Yes.
case we need to go back. So yeah, some people do it just for whatever reasons, but still they don't. I've never heard of anybody dying from a Karen or it killing, an animal. So exactly what you said, let's just pretend there was a legitimate reason because
Yes.
oftentimes there is a legitimate reason for it.
Right. And if you really
And
are concerned, just stay by that Karen for a few years and maybe you'll figure out why it was put there. But
yep,
otherwise, get on your hike. Like just enjoy life.
yep.
So, but people get so passionate about some of these things. And I know I sounded passionate about like leave no trace and fruit and veggies. Well, again, I do have some rules. I have my rules that I live by. But if you, for some reason, have to throw that banana peel, don't do it on the trail. I'll never know if you take it off the trail and dig it and bury it in the soil. But no one's going to do that. But my point is, okay, be respectful of other people's experience. When I go the Appalachian Trail, this is probably a good one for leave no trace. I was questioning the whole, okay, we're leaving no trace, but there's white paint painted on every tree, to keep me on the trail. So I was questioning that. And then we had an incident happen in 2020. There was a group of people and there weren't many hikers, so everybody knew everyone. But there was this one group and they had a name, and I'm not going to call him out, but there was one guy in the group who, for whatever reason, got a Sharpie and he starts writing their group name everywhere. Now, here's the deal. I don't really care. If you want to write it or etch it in a shelter, I'll be honest. To me, those are fair game. That's just my rules. Those are my simple
Yep.
rules.
I
There's
would
a
agree with
logbook.
that.
There's a logbook, so you can write it in the logbook. But this person, they started simple, but then they started really going crazy and they were writing on rocks and pretty much everywhere. Like,
Oh
and
man,
then they
no.
started doing bridges and they started doing like it was literally on signs and literally everywhere. So like a sign that I wanted to take a picture of I had to actually like I think I put my head in front of her. So I blocked out their name. Now, because their group was so well known, they got called out. This one guy got called out. He apologized and he went through and he helped clean up all of it. So he went through and he got rid of it and he apologized and he was like, I wasn't even thinking about it, which was kind of good for some people to realize these people don't really think about it. Like,
No.
but my dad, another saying, fools' names and fools' faces always appear in public places. And every time I see that, I think that. But my point is, how do you enjoy nature hikes without taking away from other people's experience? That would be so sound. Do you listen to your music? If you don't want to listen to the birds, that's on you. That's you. If you want to listen, I'm going to throw a podcast. A lot of people listen to podcasts when they hike. They listen to, I said music, but people have these things that they tune into. Fine. But I don't want to hear your music. Okay. Even if it's quiet. When you
Yep.
pass me, it takes me out of whatever zone I was in. Um, Obviously, tagging things, that's bad. Trash, being lazy and throwing trash. I'm going to step on another one. No pun intended. But people on the Lone Star Trail is a very good example. I'm sure you have noticed this. Okay, I choose to hike and it's raining. My trail is flooded. With the exception of that one time when I got off the trail accidentally and I stepped into quicksand, but it proves my point. You're better off if you're going to walk in the rain, then just accept the fact you're going to get your feet wet. Walk on the trail. I learned this from someone else. Okay. Don't step to the right or the left. And you can see where people do it because it's soft. And you can
Yep.
see where they've got actually just as wet, if not wet and dirty now, versus just wet. The trail, the path, if it's already in the woods and it's a real trail, stay on the trail for the most part. There's times to not do that, but for the most part, stay on the trail because it's compacted. Yes, your feet are going to get wet, but you're not going to cause more erosion and you're not going to hurt the trail.
And guess what? You can see where people don't, and the trail gets wider and
I know.
wider
I know.
and wider
I
and
know.
wider.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's part of Leave No Trace. Stay on the trail. I don't have the Leave No Trace things memorized, but basically the overall idea is don't impact the trail. And if you do something, do it for the benefit of the trail. And what I learned this from a person that I walked with on the Appalachian Trail who was a trail maintenance person. And I'm following this person. It was a guy with his family. And he would take his poles and he would flick the little branches. And he was like an artist. Like he could not miss a beat. And I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I do trail maintenance, and this is one of the ways I give back when I hike, is I just try to get rid of the little branches and even bigger branches. Well, the big branches could turn and cause someone to go off the trail. So that's one of his thinkings. And one is that's just what he does. That's just part of his thing. So you would say, well, that's not leaving no trace because that branch fell on the trail. Here's my thinking. I had to justify this, but we've made the Appalachian Trail a real scenic trail. There is a path that we have identified. We want to keep people on the path. Anything that keeps them on the path causes less erosion somewhere else. So the white blazes keep them on the path and they keep them safe because we also don't want people to die. So you keep people on the path. Anything you can do that does that, let's do that. This is
Yeah.
one of those things. Does it make sense? So it's
Absolutely.
so it's so people could get all like, well, you're not leaving, trace because you're changing the trail. There is beautification that happens. They put boardwalks in. Why do they do a boardwalk? Probably because it's always an underwater thing. Why do they do a bridge? Because they can, and it might make things a little safer. They're going to do trail maintenance. How do you facilitate that? How do you give back to the trail? How do you respect it? Um, that's just the thing I have evolved into. When I started in 2020, I didn't know any of that stuff.
Yeah.
I learned it from other people, but I had a moral code And quite honestly, there's a sign that says on leaving a trace, it doesn't just say don't throw out your apple core. It says, or it doesn't say throw out your fruit. It says don't throw apples. Like, that is not acceptable here. So
Right.
people can't say, "Oh, I didn't know." The trailheads are going to tell you what's acceptable and what's not, and be smart about it.
And what's scary is like a lot of this stuff is just thinking about it logically, and clearly people don't have logical thought at times.
Yeah. So I will tell you on that this I think this fits. When I did, remember I told you I went to have a soup pie when they first opened and they had not been
Mhm.
opened for 2 years, 2.5 years. And I have this weird thing where when I walk on the beach or if I walk on a trail and I find a plastic bag, I take that as a sign I'm supposed to pick up a lot of trash.
Mhm.
So that's what happened. No one's been down there. So these are not hikers. Okay. This was local trash, but it was a lot. And so I ended up having 2 or 3 bags and I make it to this town because you hike basically 8 miles down into the Grand Canyon area and you get to a village about 8 miles in. So I get to this Supai village. Right before I got there, one of the locals saw me carrying 3 bags of trash. All the hikers there were people that had just hiked out and they saw me. I was carrying all this trash. What did I do? Not only did I pick up more trash than I probably have ever picked up in my life, but the people that were hiking out saw me doing it. So maybe they won't leave trash. But here's what happened. I was there for 3 nights, 4 days. I hiked out. There were all these big black bags filled. The locals had the people that lived there, the villagers, had done a cleanup. And they had cleaned there was no trash. When I hiked out, all of the trash, if it wasn't in a big black bag, it was just not there.
Wow.
So, what I'm hopefully inspiring people to do is it does make a difference. One bag. And if you haven't noticed, when people leave trash, then more people leave trash. When people find an area to leave toilet paper, then more people leave toilet paper. When people tag a building or tag a rock or whatever, more people tag it. So you can change it. You can shift it. Even you go, I was feeling pretty silly because I wasn't making a difference by these bags, but I did make a difference because
Absolutely.
I didn't, but the people that saw me, and that's anyway. I like to share that story because it wasn't the hikers who made the trash. Now it is, but at the time it wasn't the hikers that made the trash because nobody had been down there. It was local, and you can tell what local trash is. I won't say what it was, but it was very clear. It was groceries. It was groceries.
Yeah.
It wasn't hiker food.
Yeah.
Now it could be a hiker, but at the time, I'm confident it was not a hiker because like you could tell it'd been there for a while. Tuna cans,
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
So when we were talking about the water bladder,
Yep.
have you ever had a piece of gear that impacted you positively hiking and backpacking? And that wraps up another exciting episode of the Trailblazing Texas podcast. We hope you enjoyed the episode today and stay tuned for our next episode where we will pick back up where we left off and guarantee to uncover many more hiking gems and share many more tips to enhance your experience on the trail. Until then, happy trails and happy hiking.